My name is Sienna. As I write these lines, there's still a relentless pulse pounding inside me, a fire that keeps the steel-hard memories of the past fresh. Maybe when you read this, you'll call me insane, or foolish, or just a dangerous trickster. But I have no intention of defending myself. This is a confession. I am a woman thief, and I'm having a mad, reckless relationship with a cop named Mike. A story without regret. One that I've felt with every fiber of my being, relished, and one that has recreated the woman inside me. What I'm about to tell you starts in a police station, a place where the law supposedly reigns supreme and transforms into an assertion of my own freedom, instincts, and maybe even a feeling I never thought I'd confess. Love, manifested in all its strange, passionate glory. My name is Sienna, 27 years old. A thief. I've never been ashamed to say it. But I'm not a common thief. I don't do this for money, material gain, or simple revenge. I steal for prestige. I target things other thieves wouldn't even dare consider. I love challenging the impossible. All those sterile security measures, multiple locks, lasers, patrolling cops. For me, they're just a playground. I plan every move with precision, and I love stepping into risk at its highest peak. This is one of the reasons I exist, the adrenaline that keeps me alive. This time, I chose the city's toughest target, the Central Police Station right in the heart of town. Not some small outpost, but a veritable fortress. Surveillance cameras, cutting-edge alarm systems, cunning detectives. Entering there is like walking straight into a scorpion's nest. But that's exactly what I crave. To break into the very symbol of the city's security, the place criminals fear most, and take highly protected documents from the most secure safe. Documents that cannot be handed over, dangerous information. Their theft would multiply my fame, carving my name in gold letters into the city's underground legends. I still remember that night. My black leather jacket, tight clothes hugging my body, my toolkit snug at my waist. As I slipped through the shadows draped over the police station from the rooftop, my heart was calm yet thrumming with excitement. I watched the windows, waited for the shift changes, everything going precisely according to plan. I got in through a ventilation hatch on the roof. I had rehearsed every movement. Getting past the local alarm circuits, dodging sensors, moving silently through long, dark corridors. Everything was flawless. Until I ran into him. Mike, 34, the most ambitious and fearless detective in the city. Of course I'd heard his name. Who in this city's underbelly hasn't heard of Mike? He's bold, never gives up, intelligent, agile, a man both praised by the innocent and hated by criminals. For a thief like me, the name Mike stands as the barrier between a night of easy rest and constant vigilance. He was the eyes and ears of the police station. And I realized that night that, inside that fortress, I had wandered right onto his radar. As I continued my heist, I suddenly came face to face with him in a silent corridor. My black mask hid my face, my gloves erased my fingerprints. But when my eyes met Mike's, time stretched, tightened, and stopped. For a few seconds, we just stared. His eyes burned with suspicious anger. Mine, perhaps concealed behind the mask, carried a defiant smile. That silent duel was our first major move on a grand chessboard. He reached for his gun. I slipped back with a graceful motion. A chase began. We ran through corridors, rushed up and down staircases. While alarms shrieked through every corner of the station, I leapt over lasers and twisted through obstacles like an elusive cat, and he followed close behind. If it had been any ordinary cop, I'd have lost them long ago. But Mike was different. His instincts matched my cunning. Even when I hid in dark passages, it was as though he could hear my breathing. At last, I reached the room with the safe, my true target. A fortified piece of stainless steel, heavily guarded. Opening it was my specialty. I understood the language of metal, each click of a lock, each subtle shift of the mechanism. My heart pounded as I put my finger beside the lock. Inside lay crucial documents, maybe hidden jewels. Who knew what grand secrets? Just as I was about to crack it, Mike appeared in the doorway. I hadn't expected him to be so quick. My hands froze, suspended like a cocked trigger with nowhere to go. Mike aimed his gun at me, his voice firm. "Don't move!" A shrill excitement tore through me. His commanding tone, his icy composure first angered me, then strangely enticed me. Facing a man with such strong willpower provoked me. I wanted to escape, not let him win. Yet at the same time, something about his presence pulled me into a strange vortex. I played a small trick. I released a smoke grenade onto the floor. Thick white fumes swallowed the room, blocking Mike's vision while I leapt to a corner. The alarms blared in my ears, the sensors went berserk. As I advanced through the smoke toward him, I thought he wouldn't notice. I was wrong. Strong arms wrapped around my waist, holding me still. In that cloud of smoke, we ended up face to face. I could feel his breath at the tip of my nose. We locked eyes, and even in that darkness we could read each other's gaze. That's when something unexpected happened. We both stopped. We weren't fighting anymore. It was as if, in that clamorous instant, we surrendered to each other. How can I explain this? In that moment, fear, hatred, and the anxiety of being caught vanished. In their place came a warped desire, a rough but dizzying attraction. Instead of attacking or fleeing, I touched my fingertips to the nape of his neck. He was surprised at first. Then he let go. We drew closer, and suddenly guns, badges, masks, and identities ceased to matter. Two humans clung to each other in the midst of chaos. When our lips met, all other sounds seemed to fade. The smoke, the alarms, the footsteps outside. All gone. Only we remained. I felt his solid frame, his heartbeat, the volcanic energy inside him. I, in turn, surrendered in a way that astonished even me. Yes, there in that crime scene, in the arms of a man I should consider an enemy, I experienced an unforgettable moment. It was a closeness writhing with passion, a mixture of anger and desire intertwining. The fear of capture vanished momentarily. Leaning against his chest, his hands gripping my waist, our bodies raged with a hurricane of sensation. It was a strange passion born of darkness and tension, perhaps fueled by impossibility and prohibition. I felt no regret. On the contrary, I had never felt more alive. After that electrifying encounter, a silent pact formed between us. We both had to keep that night a secret. Mike couldn't tell his unit he'd almost caught me, that I'd slipped right through his fingers. Worse yet, that he'd touched me and I'd touched him back, disturbing his heart. His career, his principles, his loyalty to the law were all at stake. As for me, I'd escaped capture. So what now? We could have exposed and ruined each other, but we didn't. We decided to continue the game. By an unspoken agreement, we shared the secret of that moment. The following days were indescribably thrilling for me. I knew I was on Mike's mind, that he was likely tracing my steps. Wandering the city's back streets, I felt his shadow behind me, perhaps reviewing surveillance footage, combing through old case files. He worked furiously to find me, I imagined. Yet at the same time, I wasn't certain if he truly wanted to catch me or just see me again. That twisted pull between us led to more encounters later on. Supposed coincidences that were nothing of the sort. For example, one night I was about to infiltrate a warehouse in a deserted alley. Looking up, I saw a silhouette watching me from a rooftop, smoking a cigarette. Mike. A shiver ran through me. Instead of running away, I purposely provoked him. I abandoned my current job and climbed to the rooftop. He noticed me, glanced at his gun for a moment. Then our eyes met again, bringing back that crackling electricity. We understood each other without speaking. We danced on a tightrope of tension. Sometimes prey, sometimes predator. The roles switched constantly, and no one knew anymore who was which. Another time we met in an old, abandoned building. There was no logical reason for either of us to be there, but we were. Rotten wooden stairs, graffiti on the walls, broken glass on the floor. Dusty, filthy, silent. Our steps echoed in the emptiness, our breathing grew heavy. As we drew closer, fear and desire tangled once more. There, before a grimy, cracked window in the dim light of dancing shadows, we touched each other again. As our hands wandered over each other's bodies, I felt the cold metal of his badge against my skin. I saw no need to hold back. In that moment, we spoke only through our senses. Crime and law were left outside this moment, as if irrelevant. The only reality was the wild rhythm of our hearts. After that, there was no turning back. Could this be a form of secret love or just a passion fed by danger? I don't know. Maybe both. There were no declarations of affection, yet our actions said far more. One day, among the busy crowds of the city, I spotted Mike across the street. We locked eyes momentarily. He stood tall in his suit and badge-bearing jacket, while I smirked mischievously under my leather coat. Neither of us signaled, but we both knew what we shared. Of course, if this forbidden closeness were discovered, it would spell disaster for both of us. Mike's superiors would interrogate him, try to uncover his connection to me. I could lose all my credibility. So we became more cautious with every step. I conducted my heists with more finesse, and Mike pursued my trail more discreetly. Whenever we crossed paths, no one could see us. We were lost in a clandestine romance, a mad game. It's hard to define our relationship. As much as I desired him, I also hated him because he reminded me I could be caught. He might have been crazy about me, but he also knew he should bring me to justice. Yet he didn't. I could sense how angry he was with himself. In every one of our encounters, I saw the inner conflict in his gaze. As he looked at me, he felt like I was his accomplice in sin. And as a criminal, I not only violated his honor but also rewrote the rhythm of his heart. Deep down, maybe I did love him. I never admitted this to anyone, not even to myself with any certainty. But when I pulled away, when I spent lonely nights at home resting my head on the pillow, I remembered his touch, the hard lines of his face, the warmth of his breath. These memories sparked electric jolts through my body. And on the next day, when I set out again to pick a target, crack locks and bypass obstacles, I wondered if he'd catch me this time. This uncertainty kept the tension alive, fueling the fire of our passion. Rumors began to circulate in the city. People talked about a thief who had infiltrated the police station and vanished without a trace. They said Mike was nervous, as if hiding something. But no one knew the truth. I was a shadow that had seeped into the heart of the police force, and Mike was a hunter who had tasted that shadow and couldn't let go. Our relationship was something that didn't fit any rule book, any ethical code, an affront to society's order. One night we met again, this time in an abandoned port warehouse. Outside, the wind moaned. Inside, there was the smell of rusty metal. Our footsteps echoed in the emptiness as I waited on a high iron platform. Mike paced below, searching for me. Our outlines flickered on the walls as shadows. Finally, he spotted me. We remained silent. Without a word, we drew close. His strong hands circled my waist as I ran my fingers through his hair. Once more, our lips met, and the icy night air melted on our skin. Passion danced between us again. This forbidden, chaotic, scorching connection had us both hooked like a narcotic haze. In that moment, law, crime, morality, none of it existed. Only the taut, burning presence of us. I don't know how this story will end. Maybe one day Mike will regain his composure and finally arrest me. Maybe I'll grow bored and leave the city. Or maybe we'll find a way to formalize this game into some inexplicable pact. All I know is that what we've lived has made me who I am. I steal for prestige, yes, but I've realized that my greatest prize is hidden in that secret passion. It's brighter than any precious jewel. A forbidden love story between a thief and a detective, a whirlpool of lust and danger. This is my confession. Am I sorry? Never. With every breath, every touch, every rush of adrenaline, I become more alive. This forbidden passion I've experienced in Mike's arms, in back alleys, in shadowed warehouses, is one of the things that define me. A tale born in the shadow of crime, sprouting in chaos, mixing fear and desire into something fierce. And as I write this story, I feel no regret at all. Because I am Sienna, the woman who loves to defy limits, who claims her freedom by picking steel locks, a thief and a woman. And this story is truly mine.